Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. It is a good day already. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're having a good morning so far. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Tim Harris. It's time for Tim with Tim. How are you doing? Are you good? I don't think I've stopped lately just to thank you and tell you how much I love you and how much I appreciate your partnership in the Word. Some of you are just so faithful. You never say a word, you never enter the chat, you never give any thumbs up. We don't even know you're out there, but I know you're out there, and I talk to you when I see you out, and you tell me that you listen, and I appreciate it. I just do. I know you're not doing it for me. This is really about my life in the Word and your life in the Word, but I really enjoy that we can share it together. And it's good. We finished Romans yesterday. We're starting about 7 days or so in the Psalms. We go live every day, Monday through Friday. And so we'll do today and tomorrow, then next Monday through Friday in the Psalms. And then I think I said we go to Revelation. Is that cool? Is that cool? It's going to be good. Today we're in Psalm 123, 124, 125. I love these. They're all three short Psalms, but they're just good. Technically, these are, if you read the little subtitle there in the scripture, these are Psalms of Ascent. When pilgrims are making their way into Jerusalem, that final stretch is uphill because Jerusalem, of course, is surrounded by mountains, by hills. And so you go up to go into Jerusalem. And so there are these songs that they would sing on that last leg, on that ascent. And all of these are psalms that have to do with that ascent. And so I think it's kind of neat. Psalm 123 begins with, I lift up my eyes. So this psalm, there's a lot of focus on the eyes and the gaze and where you're looking. But just notice how the basic direction of your eyes in the psalm is up because you're going up, up to Jerusalem. I lift my eyes to you, O God, enthroned in heaven. We keep looking to you, the Lord our God, for his mercy. Just as servants keep their eyes on their master, just as a slave girl watches her mistress for the slightest signal. I love that. I love how, first off, what you see, of course, always depends upon where you look. And so this psalm has to do with fixing your eyes. In other words, intentionally deciding what you pay attention to. And most of us don't do this intentionally. We just throughout the day bob along, like a float on the water. And we just keep our eyes focused on our circumstances, whatever's in front of us, whatever shiny, scary thing, flashes before our eyes. And so we're constantly anxious because we are keeping our eyes focused on circumstances which are out of our control and always changing. That creates anxiety. In the psalm, however, the idea is you fix your eyes, you lift your eyes upon the Lord, you keep your eyes on him. And then you get these two analogies, like servants who keep their eyes on their master. Like a slave girl that keeps her eyes on her mistress looking for the slightest signal. I love that. Of course, we're talking about readiness for obedience there, but also there's this sense of reliance, a sense of dependence, and a sense of attentiveness, and I just love it. I love that. And so it follows from that this plea for mercy. Have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy. We keep looking to the Lord our God for mercy. So this mercy that I need, and mercy, of course, is a beautiful word. I love the Lord who is full of mercy. Mercy has to do with not getting what you deserve. Mercy has to do with somebody just cutting you slack, you know what I mean? Giving you grace, and so we look to the Lord for mercy. But this plea for mercy in Psalm 123 is based upon this relationship, this attentiveness, this trust that comes when you fix your eyes upon the Lord. And I just love it. I love that little psalm so much. Psalm 124 is beautiful in another way. There's a famous worship song, If the Lord Had Not Been on Our Side. It comes from Psalm 124 here. It's interesting how that phrase, what if the Lord had not been on our side? It's repeated twice. Remember, this is probably kind of, it's something that would have been used in worship. And so it's call and response. The first person says it, and then everybody else sings it, repeats it. What if the Lord had not been on our side? I love the way this whole psalm is built upon that simple question, what if? What if? And that question of what if can lead to some very spiritually profound, realizations. What if? What if the Lord had not been on our side? Now, I think this is really interesting because this is the psalmist, intentionally remembering victory, but also intentionally framing that victory in terms of what God has done for me. We don't do a lot of, Monday morning quarterbacking on our big victories. Usually you just chalk it up to, man, I was awesome. I was awesome. We don't think a whole lot about the things that went well. We analyze the things that went poorly. My disasters I think about forever. The good things I just cruise right on through and chalk it up to my good luck or my intelligence, whatever. But here you take this victory and you just turn it around in such a way where it's like, man, I'm telling you one thing, if the Lord hadn't been on our side, that would have turned out differently. What if? What if? Of course, the big declaration in Psalm 124 is verse 8. Our help is from the Lord who made heaven and earth. I love that. The other thing that in my own devotion this morning with Psalm 124, I think I'm realizing how childishly I've often read the Old Testament or the Bible itself, but especially the Psalms. Passages like this, we'd have been swallowed alive. Waters would have engulfed us. A torrent would have overwhelmed us. Raging waters. We've been torn apart by ravenous beasts, like birds in a hunter's trap. I guess I always took this real literally. And I guess it's more literal than, granted, in the psalmist world, he was much more likely to encounter a ravenous beast, on the way to work than I am. And so that's probably why his mind goes to that metaphor, but it's still a metaphor, I'm just saying this to say, we make their world so opposite from ours, as if they just lived in this world of quicksand and lions and tigers and, bird traps and all, and yeah, their world was more primitive, but the psalmist, he's not unsophisticated, and he's perfectly able and capable of using some very artful and vivid metaphors. And so when he talks about the water that overwhelms him, it is not that, he'd stepped in a puddle, it's a metaphor. It's his way of talking about the overwhelming circumstances, the overwhelming anxiety. You know what I'm saying? These are metaphors for the psalmist too. I think it's important to let him live in a world like mine so that I recognize that his troubles are more akin to mine than I recognize. Am I making any sense? Because once I realize that, he lives in the same world I live in, his troubles are more akin to my troubles, then I can see that, his reliance upon God is more the way I need to rely upon God. So you mustn't read that like, oh my goodness, who steps in a bird trap? Who recently, has been torn apart by the teeth of a ravenous beast, that's not our world, but recognize this, the psalmist, he's using these metaphors as a way of describing all the different moments in life where we feel like we need God's help, where it is obvious that we need God's help. You know what I'm saying? Psalm 125, again, it's a psalm of ascent. You're walking, literally traveling in a group up into Jerusalem. You're ascending up the mountains. And so Psalm 125 uses that. So it uses that geography around Jerusalem to sort of picture the way in which God protects us, the way in which those who trust him find this security in him. So those who trust in the Lord are as secure as Mount Zion, never be defeated, endure forever. Just as the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people. Do you see that? So that's the psalm that you're singing as you walk through those mountains that surround Jerusalem. And so it just uses that as a. I mean, you're looking at this and you're able to see, yeah, that's the way God surrounds me. That's the way God protects me. I love the way verse 3 highlights the way that God himself limits what the wicked can do so that he protects us from them. The way the Lord does good to those who are good, whose hearts are in tune with him. The last phrase, or may Israel have peace, kind of harkens back to covenantal language, like in Numbers, book of Numbers, for example. And it just ties that security that comes from a covenant relationship with the Lord. Anyway, aren't those good? I love those. Now, tomorrow we'll do two. We'll do Psalm 126 and Psalm 127. And they're just really two of my favorites. I think when you read those, they'll be familiar to you. And I think we're going to enjoy reading those together. So read those, Psalm 126, Psalm 127, and we'll come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock for a 10 with Tim, Lord willing. I love you guys so much. It's going to be a beautiful day. Get outside, get some vitamin D, enjoy some sunshine, and stay in the Word, all right?